regular meeting of the Development Review Board to order. And I'd like to introduce my board members, actually starting at my right here.
And Kevin O'Connell, board member.
Oh, good microphone.
Kevin O'Connell, board member.
And I'm Rob Goodwin, the chair.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
Catherine Burgess, board member.
And on our Zoom platform, we have Michael, are you here?
I'm here, Michael Lazorchak, board member. Thank you.
Okay, and then we got Joe.
Hey, Kevin, board member.
Abby.
Abby White, board member.
All right, Jean.
Jean Leon, hi, board member.
Okay. Just want to do a point of process real quick. So how many board members do we have tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4,
7.
6, 7.
7, so we have full quorum.
Yep,
Full quorum.
everybody's here.
And everybody's here for the party.
Perfect. Okay, so I will turn now over to Meredith to provide a review of our remote meeting procedures. And there you go.
All right, so everybody who's on via Zoom, I'm going to be sharing my screen. Except it went to the wrong thing. Hold on one second. There we go. All right, so the slideshow part is really for people who are watching via ORCA Media so that they can see how to log in, but there's going to be some other information that's for everybody, especially anyone who hasn't done a Zoom meeting with the Montpelier Development Review Board or Design Review Committee before. So for those viewing this meeting via ORCA Media, you can participate in tonight's DRB meeting via the Zoom platform by either using this video link. You can just type it right into your web browser and it should take you right into the meeting, or call this phone number and plug in this meeting ID number here, and you will be able to talk and listen. You just won't be able to see what everybody else is seeing on your computer or your smartphone. If someone is having, oops, I forgot to update this. If someone's having issues getting in, please just email me. Don't email Mike. He's not on tonight, but I can help you log in. My email address is also on the city website. For those who are attending via the Zoom platform, turning on your video is optional. Please do keep your microphone on mute when you're not speaking. This will reduce background noise. And please use the Zoom chat function only for troubleshooting or logistics questions. If you have something substantive to say about an application, or otherwise have some sort of comment you want to make to the board, please raise your hand, either there if you have your video on and we'll see you, or use your raise hand button on the Zoom platform, and the chair will call on you at an appropriate time, and then you'll be able to make that substantive comment then. If the public is unable to access this meeting, and I'll find that out via my email, which I'll have open, then the meeting will need to be continued to a time and place certain if I can't help them get into the meeting, because we did list the online access as a viable option. I'll now hand the meeting back over to the chair.
Okay, at this time, I will accept a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Motion by Kevin and second by Jean. Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Abby?
Abby, you're muted.
Sorry, yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Jean?
yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Rob, myself votes yes. That is unanimously approved. Thank you all for coming out this evening. Just a note, we do not have any participants, representatives of the applicant or the public in the room this evening. Just 3 board members and one trusty staff person, Meredith.
And our ORCA Media cameraman.
ORCA Media. So this is that's where everyone's at. And I will turn over to Meredith because we only have one application this evening. No, we actually have one
Review
thing we got to do.
Yeah.
We have to approve the minutes. So, board members, if you have reviewed the minutes, I would entertain a motion for either comments or to approve it.
We've only got 4 people that can do it.
Yeah, I was not at that.
I
meeting.
was-
Motion to approve.
So that was Jean moved.
So Jean has a motion to approve the minutes from 2/22/2022. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion by Jean and second by Abby. So Jean, myself, Abby, and Michael are those.
Nope, Joe.
Joe are those that are eligible to vote. So Abby, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Rob, myself votes yes. The minutes for 2/22/2022 are approved.
You just like saying that.
I do like saying that. It's a great
You won't
day.
be able to ever do that again.
No, never again. Until, I won't be alive then.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
no.
think-
Yeah. Okay. So we have one application this evening for 203 Berry Street for conditional use approval of a ceramic studio. And I will turn over to Meredith for a brief overview of the project and how we got here.
Okay. So, as Rob said, this application is mostly before the board because it is a conditional use. Art studios are considered to be in the in an industry, and so they are. I think it is industry. Hold on one second. Now my brain just puzzled out on me as to what the exact term is, and everybody knows me. I want the right term. So it's considered to be in the light manufacturing use. And here in the Riverfront District, light manufacturing is a conditional use. So this has to come before the board. There's a few other tweaky little things, mostly because the parcel itself is a non-conforming parcel. It's a very small parcel. It's already fully developed with what used to be the Berry Street Market. And so there is no space there for off-street parking. And most of the parcel is already, built out. There's a little bit of space back in the back. So even if it wasn't a conditional use, if any new use were put into this building that needed off-street parking, it would have to come before the board for that exemption to the minimum number of off-street parking spaces. So that's another thing that's here before the board for. And then there's also, because of, there's a little question about the landscaping that comes in, where I've made some suggestions on how they might be able to meet the total site landscaping requirement, because there is so little green space on this parcel already. A little tweak, but those are the biggies. It's, in my mind, there's ways to approve it, and I've put some suggestions in the staff report.
Yeah.
But I think that probably handing it over to Frank and Heather to describe the business plan would
Perfect.
make a lot of sense.
Perfect. Okay, Frank and Heather, welcome here. First things first, anybody that wishes to make public testimony tonight, in addition to Frank and Heather, we need to swear you in as witnesses. So other than Frank and Heather, is there anyone else that wishes to speak tonight on this application?
Trevor, it's just going to be raising your right hand and saying that whatever you say is going to be truthful. If you want to then comment later, we'll need to swear you in at that point.
Okay. Can't read who's.
So
up in-
Trevor Cole and Kelly Taft, they
Okay.
submitted a letter, so
Perfect.
that's already in the packet.
Yep.
And Kathy, you don't think you're going to talk? Okay.
Okay.
So we have no actual representative for the.
Yeah, we do. Frank
We
and
do.
Heather.
Frank and Heather.
Frank Celiani and
Oh, okay.
Heather are
Very
here.
good.
Yep.
Okay, so they need to be sworn in too, right?
Yes, yes. So we have 4 people and essentially 2 parties being sworn in here. All those interested in providing testimony on this application, would you please raise your right hand to be sworn in as a witness? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
See 4 nods / yeses. We're good. Great. So yeah, so Frank and Heather, I'd just like to give you this opportunity to sort of give an overview of your project and provide us any information that you think might be pertinent to tonight's meeting.
Well, we plan on converting what is now the Berry Street Market into my ceramic studio, and it would be a private studio. I would use it to produce my work. There would be a small showroom where I would store work. I would have limited shop hours while I was there working. And I would use the space primarily to produce my work and to sell it. Most of my work now is sold online. I also sell at the farmers market in Montpelier. And I have several galleries that carry my work also in other parts of the country. So I ship work to them and they sell it.
We've reviewed the report, which is very thorough. It's wonderful. We agree with the recommendations. In terms of the landscaping, that's not an issue. As I mentioned, we have plans to get a bunch of shade-loving perennials anyway for our own house. So providing those perennials in the back for landscaping is not an issue. I think we're also prepared to address the pH issue for the Department of Public Works, but maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. We're excited. Thank you for having us here. We're very excited about the project.
It's good to be excited.
Yeah, no, it's great that you were able to have some time to look into those comments from the staff and the staff report. That will certainly be helpful. If you just back up for a second. So my understanding is you're planning on doing a little bit of a modification to the staircase in the back. Could you kind of walk us through like the reasons behind that planning? And
Yes, there's an apartment upstairs that is accessed from a stairway on the exterior of the building and a back porch. And the back porch is so thoroughly deteriorated that it needs to be replaced. And in replacing it, the stairs are going to have to be replaced as well. So that's the real reason. If what was there was serviceable, we would certainly prefer leaving it exactly the way that it was, but that's not really possible considering the state of the structure that's there now. And in the course of replacing that porch and the stairs, we need to remove a small shed structure in the back of the building. And that will not be replaced. That will be removed. And that removal will actually produce the space, the little bit of extra green space for the property. Right. And the stairs will also have steel grates, which will also increase the permeability a little bit.
So if I may,
yes, Kevin.
The upstairs is currently an apartment and will stay as an apartment. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and downstairs it was Berry Street Market. What's its current use?
Right now it is the market.
Oh,
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's
no one's using it as a market.
okay, but okay, that's fine. That's all I have.
So the stairs in the rear, is that the primary access to the stop, or is there multiple access?
It is.
Okay. And will continue to be.
And will continue to be, yes.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Partially out of curiosity, but I think also important for context. So it's a matter of like scale, like a pottery studio like this, how many machines do you have and how much clay do you go through in a year or a month? Or
I have one potter's wheel. Most of my work is actually slip cast. So I make forms, I make molds of them, and then I cast the parts and assemble pots from those. As far as machinery goes, the only machinery, I guess, is really a kiln. Nothing that really is extremely loud or produces vibrations or anything like that, really. It's, when I think about it in terms of an industrial process, I don't think of myself as someone who runs a factory. I guess mostly people would refer to me as an art potter. Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. I think that's very helpful to place it within the light manufacturing use here, whatnot. Before we get into sort of diving into the staff report, do board members have any sort of additional questions of where we're at now?
I've got one. Could you talk us through the foot traffic and the other people who'd be there aside from yourself? I know you'd mentioned classes in the future.
Right now, I don't have any concrete plans to teach classes. Invariably, what happens is that people ask me if I teach classes. And in the past, I have worked in places where there are communal studios. So I would not have been teaching in my own studio, but I would have been teaching at the community studio affiliated with the school I was at. Running a communal studio and having people in a communal studio is a very different thing than having your own studio. Something as simple as switching the type of clay you use. Most of my work is made out of porcelain, and it tends to be a hard material to work with if you're not familiar with it. So things like stonewares tend to be used more in community classes I would be teaching. And just something as simple as someone introducing stoneware into the studio means I would have to clean everything down before I switched back to porcelain. So teaching classes is not something that I really plan on doing. It's something that I wouldn't want to tell you, oh, I'm never going to teach classes, and then turn around and say, oh, I'm teaching classes. If I did teach classes, the space is so small, there wouldn't be more than 4 to 6 people in there. And I can't see myself having open studio hours beyond the hours that I would be teaching in class. So the only time students would be in there would be during class hours. And the class is typically between 2 and 4 hours long, somewhere in there. It depends on where you're teaching. I've taught places where a class is 5 hours long. I've taught places where they're 45 minutes. I've taught places, where they're somewhere between those two. But it's a very different thing to run a teaching studio and to run a professional studio. And running a teaching studio is often a hindrance to a professional studio. So I hope, does that answer any of those questions?
You.
Okay. Well, so moving on here, we can delve into the staff report and just make sure we cover all the bases here with some of the issues that were bulleted. So on first issue, we covered the first part, which is sort of the general nature of the project, and we talked about that this is like manufacturing conditional use in this district, and so I guess the first thing is talking about the dimensional standards, and as Meredith mentioned briefly, there's an existing nonconformity, which is not uncommon in Montpelier and whatnot. And the particular area of focus on this nonconformity was the 80% maximum lot coverage. So maybe it makes more sense. Meredith, do you think you could just sort of walk us through the nonconformity of 80%? Yeah. It seems to make sense to me, but I think you could probably explain it better.
So I wasn't going to ask Frank and Heather to get an exact square footage of how much of the property is currently pervious surface or water can flow down through, because just looking at the parcel and with the stairs currently being roofed and the deck in the back mostly being roofed in the shed, it's obvious that more than 80% of the parcel is covered with surfaces that shed water. There's no question about that. And the good thing here, though, is that that's a current condition, right? That's an existing nonconformity where the parcel currently doesn't meet the standard. And with what Frank and Heather are proposing, they're proposing to remove the shed, change the stairs to a surface that lets water through, and the upper landing where those stairs then meet the new covered decking porch, that's going to let water through as well. And so they have decreased the coverage maximum. It may still not be meeting the 80% standard, but they've improved it. And so given that situation, that this was an existing nonconformity that they purchased, my suggestion is to say that because they're at least improving the situation, it can be approved.
Yeah, I would agree with
Absolutely.
that.
I would agree with that. Thank you for the
Dimensional.
great summary. Absolutely. So moving on. So section 3004 of the regs pertains to demolition, which I guess you'll be demolishing the shed, in the stairs, and then rebuilding the stairs largely in the in the same footprint, or exactly in the same footprint. So coming to this, I guess this is a question here for Frank and Heather, and I'm assuming it's yes. But would you be willing to sort of a condition that within 60 days of this demolition to have that removed and hauled away from the site and taken care of?
Yes, absolutely. Considering the fact that there is no space on the site,
Well,
whatever is demolished and removed from the building, I personally would want to have it removed as soon as possible.
okay. Well, thank you. So we're going to skip over the next couple, sections outlines because riparian areas, wetlands, and steep slopes don't apply to this project. Along with, staff did not find that erosion control was a particular issue of concern, and I believe that the board would agree with that. So we're going to flip down to access and circulation section here, which is on page 9 of the staff report if you're following along. And I think we will talk more about this in the conditional use review, but I think generally the information that we've seen from the applicants in the current use of the building, that we're not seeing much change at all related to the factors related to this. Board members, I'm seeing nods here that they agree with that finding. So the next section here, which we should spend a little bit of time on here, is the parking and loading areas. And does anyone on the board want to take a lead at this issue, or shall I keep plugging along?
I think you're doing a great job, Rob, so I would continue plugging along.
Alrighty, perfect. So we have the ability here to have the discretion as a board to waive some of the requirements under this section. But maybe I'll start here by a question to Frank and Heather. Let me just phrase this, figure out my wording here. As far as the change from how that building is currently being used in your proposed, studio, do you feel like there will be an increase in necessity for parking and loading areas?
I don't think so. I don't. We live just a couple blocks away, so I won't be driving there. I will be walking there. People that come to see the work, they may drive there, but every time I've walked past there always seems to be plenty of parking on Berry Street there close to the studio. And I don't see more than one person, one carload of people coming at a time.
So there is on-street parking available on Berry Street, as was probably used for patrons of the Berry Street Market. Nothing has changed in that regard in the last couple of years. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's always plenty of parking on Berry Street on both sides. Yeah.
It was a little bit different when there was the Berry Street Market and Kismet
Right.
restaurant. And there was occasionally some tension between those two businesses. But that was years ago. And
The hours of operation will be different too.
yes, right.
Yeah. So I think in summary here, as staff suggests, that the conditional use of changing use isn't going to be much of a difference from what has historically been used, there, which I think gives me, enough information. And I think the board to
Totally.
sort of go ahead and not require any additional loading zones or or parking or whatnot. So I think we're good there. Okay, so we have a little bit of a discussion here on the landscaping and screening requirements. My understanding is that, you're proposing to do a little bit of work, and replacing where the shed is and whatnot. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit?
You want me to go?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think it was either 36 square feet or 38 square feet of plantings that would be required back there. That's not an issue. I mean, some of the things that we've been looking at, I don't know if any of you are gardeners, but we were looking at some verbinum, some astilbe, some heuchera, like big leafy, I don't think anyone's going to see it, but still, they're like big, leafy, nice looking, shade loving perennials. So we could get a little bit of life back there.
And so my understanding from the application and the staff report that you might need to install a new vent for the kiln or whatnot. And the suggestion was this could be, painted to enhance the screening. Is that correct?
It could be. Sorry. It could be easily painted. The vent is like a 5-inch pipe that sticks out of the side of the building. It's not very big at all. It's like a kitchen vent or a vent that you would have out of your bathroom, out of the exterior of your house. It's that kind of thing. It's not a big heavy duty thing.
And what side of the building would that go off, or do you not know yet?
I'm not sure. I imagine it would go out of the back of the building.
Okay, well, I think that takes care of landscaping and screening. We have certainly very minimal changes to the exterior of the building, which makes sense here. So as we move along here, we can start our conditional use review, which is on page 16 of the staff report. This relates to chapter 330, which is the conditional use standards. So the first issue here, and I believe there were some emails that were distributed to the board. Meredith, would you like to just share that information about the pH levels?
Yeah. So just to summarize for anybody who hasn't read the staff report, when the Department of Public Works reviewed the application, they didn't have any big concerns. Their only real worry was with the wastewater, and from the clays and the glazes that are used, some of them, depending on which you pick, can really lower pH values in the wastewater. And Montpelier sewer system can't accept waste streams with a pH lower than 5.5. So I got that information to Frank, and he came back to me with some information that said that, hold on one second. One, the type of clay he was using, hold on, gotta go to the right one. Well, one, he uses and touches the clay all the time. So that's one ways to tell that it's not a really low pH. And he got some pH test strips and checked those, and the wastewater from his clay water buckets where he reclaims clay, right? So the clay he doesn't use is going to soak in that, and to keep it from getting dried out. That water was a pH around 7 or 8, and same with the, you called it glaze water, Frank. I don't know if that's like water that when you're rinsing off the glazes.
Yeah, like often you'll have to just sponge off excess glaze in an area, and I save all that too.
Yeah, so he saves all the wastewater, and he also has a system. One of the things other pieces of information he gave me was that he also recovers the silt. So even though that wasn't something that the Department of Public Works was worried about, he made sure to let us know that he uses slip traps in his shop sinks. So this allows all the silt to settle out of wastewater before it's discharged from the studio. And he says he usually actually collects his wastewater to pour off the clear water the next day. So he tries to, you might have to explain this, Frank, but you say once you have a full bucket of leftover slip, you dry it out to plastic consistency and press tile with it. So that there's almost no waste from his process, and very little other than clear water goes down the sink. Everything else is left behind and recycled to make tile. And he'll have one sink at 203 Berry Street that will be equipped with one of these slip traps to help collect everything. So I think that I haven't heard back. I sent this information on to Department of Public Works, but Kurt Modica, I think, was out on end of day Friday and today, so he hasn't been able to respond back. But it sounds to me like we have a lot of information on that,
Right.
Where the board could potentially just approve it, knowing that he'll still need to get potential with adding the new sink. There may be a new connection with Department of Public Works to get approval there.
I guess on this issue, I'm just trying to think like, in perpetuity, that for the foreseeable future, the current operations of, of your, business, seem to be fine and a non-issue, but, maybe we condition something to say that if there are changes in the process or whatnot, that would trigger a conversation with Public Works, not necessarily back here at the board, but just to make sure that we're covered there.
Yeah, I mean, we can also, there can be a condition that the waste stream can't be below that 5.5 pH without, however that works.
But right now, the Public Works won't take wastewater with a lower pH than 5.5.
Right, but once the sink's in, if Frank no longer is at the ceramic studio and somebody else buys it but uses a different kind of clay,
Right.
having that condition in here protects it.
You should add that condition.
Yeah.
Would that be okay with?
Yeah, that would be fine.
And then you've been using the same clay for how many,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the next conditional use item here is traffic. Just ask what you anticipate any changes in the traffic pattern with your proposed studio or whatnot.
I don't anticipate that many people rushing out to buy coffee cups.
I mean, we wish,
We
right?
wish.
Put in a traffic circle.
Yeah.
Well,
But yeah, I don't anticipate increased traffic. I would imagine that the traffic would be less than if it was operating as the market, which it is, the way that it's configured now. So.
I mean, that's if it were somebody who were trying to reopen that market, because the market has been out of use for over a year, they'd have to get a new permit,
right.
and it would be a higher just parking requirement now, because a market sees much faster use.
That's right.
And
People are in a rush.
People are in a rush. That's more of a moderate to high traffic use, whereas the art studio is a limited customer traffic use, especially when Frank already has such a high internet presence.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I just, to generalize here, it's like you have the apartments upstairs, which generally the need for parking is, at night when people are not at work, at least in normal times when we're not all working from home. But, and then the business hours of the studio are obviously during the day. So it does seem like a pretty good match as far as, two different uses in one building and the location that it is, which kind of transitions into the next conditional use item here, which is, does it fit with the character of the neighborhood? And, my experience with Berry Street is that this is sort of exactly the type of thing that Berry Street is for. Like to let Frank and Heather have any comments if they'd like on that.
I agree.
Yeah.
You just see,
Great.
you see Berry Street changing, you see Berry Street changing and all these wonderful things coming in. And so we would really like to be part of that. There's would be like pizza. Yeah.
Does this go through design review?
It did. Yep, it went through design review for the stairs and the decking, and they were good with everything. They didn't have any tweaks to the plan. They were quite happy with what was being proposed.
Right. So there's no conditions or recommendations from design review for the board to accept here? All right.
Nope. I mean, it's your, if this were an administrative permit, I would be issuing that design review permit. So ultimately, the board is okaying that design review aspect of it. But there were no concerns expressed under those standards whatsoever.
Is this made up by you or by design review?
So I do the little yellow, right? The staff.
This is your
That's
additions?
the staff, yep, and then everything else is filled out by the DRC,
Okay,
and the
so
chair does the
this is
circle. Yep,
their form.
yep, this is a copy of their form.
Could you just summarize what you're talking about, Kevin, so that everyone
Well, design review has already reviewed this. I said no reason to duplicate the work that they've done. So my recommendation is to just accept the report.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so for anybody who didn't go into the packet, I know Frank and Heather did, but I don't know if Trevor and Kelly or Kathy did. The application packet that I circulated as part of this meeting materials, in addition to having my staff report and the application itself, I also included, it's a 3-page form from the design review committee where they evaluate all the applicable design review criteria and say whether or not the project is acceptable or unacceptable under that. And then there's a vote recorded at the end. So the design review committee approved the exterior changes going on here, including that rear vent, 4-0 in favor 2 weeks ago.
And
Okay. So the staff, the board, the applicants all appear to sort of agree that this very much fits with the character of the neighborhood and be a great addition to Berry Street. At this time, I'd like to see if any of the members of the public would like to comment or speak at this time. If so, just speak up.
So Trevor, Kelly,
Just expressing my support.
thank you. We
great.
do have your letter, your email, so thank you.
I just want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. It is helpful for us to know that the neighbors are in support of the project or not in support of the project. It's like your perspective is very important. So thank you for taking the time.
so that's good.
Yeah, I think I got the information I need. The board members have the information they need. If so, I would accept a motion.
The only thing I was going to remind the board of is the fact that we're still operating under quarantine rules, which requires us to make the final recommendation or the final decision in a closed door session.
Right. So this is nothing to say about the particular application at hand here, but as we've done with every application during this pandemic, we've done it in deliberative session at the end for the ease of the not just the Zoom environment, but the hybrid environment. And so that's what we will be doing.
Okay.
So that being said, I will make a motion to close the public hearing and the board retire to deliberative session when we're done here this evening.
There's a motion by Kevin,
Second the motion.
and a second by Jean. Kevin, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Catherine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And Rob, myself votes yes, that unanimously approved. See if there's anything else before we adjourn this meeting. I don't believe so.
Just a little note. So one, I'm sending out the deliberative session link, so you're gonna have to give me a couple minutes on that.
Yep.
But we do not actually have an application for the March 21st meeting.
Oh, wonderful.
So if the board wishes, we can just take a day off. If there are things that the board wants to talk about, we could always have a meeting as well for administrative matters, but it's up to the board.
Well, we have okay.
Well, I will be out of the country on March 21st, so.
So our leader is gone. We can't possibly meet.
So maybe a night off.
I will be returning by March 4th, but I will keep you posted whether I am in any shape to participate in a meeting on March 4th. So.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Norway.
You mean April 4th?
April 4th, yes.
Norway.
Okay.
Cool.
Wow, good for you.
My sister's niece and a nephew that I haven't met yet because of the pandemic. So.
Aw,
Excellent.
that's awesome.
Awesome.
Okay.
So let's see. I think we just have to adjourn.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
is there a motion to adjourn?
Somebody text me.
Huh?
Okay, I'll make
Oh,
the
yeah.
motion.
Sorry, I'll make the motion. Yeah.
So moved by Catherine. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jean. Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Rob, myself votes yes. Thank you all for joining us this evening.
So hold on one second.
Yep.
Frank and Heather,
Yeah.
just to let you know, so the process here is the board will go into deliberative session and vote on the actual application and, what conditions to put on the approval. And then there's 45 days to actually issue the written decision. We work really hard to do that much, much sooner than that. But you and I can talk. But if you look at the bottom of the staff report, there's a sense of what types of conditions might be on the on the approval. And I'm just looking, chances are good that we'll issue the permit with the decision, I think, but we'll find out, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
There might be a little lag between the two.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really
Yes,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
good
Well,
luck.
if it's approved.
Okay.
I can't say yes, it's approved at this point, right?
Thank you for
Okay,
your
you have to
time.
vote.
Thank you for your time.
All of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm multitasking. Okay, and you will move to adjourn already, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was doing too many things. Okay, have a lovely night, everybody.